Week power rankings. We took all the emotion out of it. We promise. Who's at the top? Who earned their way at the bottom? And who is floating in between? All of that here on today's show.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, joined by Kenton Gibbs of Locked On Wolfpack. Each and every day, you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you download, subscribe to the pod on our YouTube page. It's always important that you talk to us because we certainly talk back. We have got a good one here for you. We have got power rankings after week 5. A lot of action happens. Some people didn't even play at all, but nonetheless, we've got some good rankings to get here for you. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends here at Gametime. Make sure you download the Gametime app, create an account, and use Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Kenton, are we ready for these rankings?
I'm ready. I'm not sure if the fans ready, but I'm ready. I'm ready to drop these rankings right now.
Every week it gets spicy. Hopefully this is just not one of those times because I feel like it's just very fair, even, balanced, if you will.
There is no such thing as a non-spicy version of this, okay? It's like you dropping 3 Chipotle peppers in the sauce that you're making and saying, oh, I hope that it's very mild. Ain't happening. Not around here, partner.
Is that coming from a place of experience?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. For the viewers and listeners out there who don't know, go easy on the Chipotle peppers. Please.
No, tell these people how you decided to follow TikTok, make a recipe, and got your feelings hurt. Go ahead, tell the people.
Okay, we don't need to get into my personal life. Okay, just know that Chipotle peppers are very spicy. They clear your sinuses right on up. They clear all of that. Anything you got going on in there, boom, done.
All right. Well, let's start from the bottom as we always do. Number 14, sitting pretty at the bottom right now is Virginia. No surprise there. If you are used to the season and how things have played out for the Cavaliers, it is not surprising that they still find themselves waiting for that one win that's going to take them out of the hot seat.
You know, I think the most interesting thing about this Virginia team, I don't know if you or any of our viewers or listeners are fans of South Park, but there was an episode where the boys were playing Little League baseball and they were trying really hard to lose, but all the other teams were better at losing than they were. So they constantly, they just kept going forward in the tournament and they hated it. That's what I feel like is going on with Virginia right now. Like they're better than everybody else at losing. They know how to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory like nobody's business. They could have you down on the ropes. They could have you out. They could have you just raked over the coals. And they're going to find a way to still end up looking at the final score at the end of that game saying, we lost again, huh? But luckily they got William and Mary coming in, and I don't think Mike Tomlin's old stumping ground is going to prove to be a formidable foe for them this year.
You say that, and yet. I can't with full confidence feel like Virginia's going to pull off the victory, and that's saying something. But
I'm absolutely not saying with full confidence now. Okay. Let's not do that. I believe that they do. I believe that they should. I believe that they should. It should happen a certain way. I'm not betting the house on it. Not doing that.
You believe in Coach Key, and yet here we are. We'll talk about it, though. Next up on the list, we've got Boston College. The Boston College Eagles were able to squeak out a win, but still fighting at the bottom, clawing their way. Still not convinced that Hafley will be able to turn the season around, but step in the right direction. You figure out how to win. Step 1.
Talk about coaches people believed in. I remember somebody on this show was sipping that Hafley Kool-Aid not too long ago.
Very much. In season 1, when he had Phil Dracovic, and he was telling us how he didn't get to know his players very well because of the, lack of communication and not just being able to be with them and not really learning the playbook in the second year and all those excuses. And now I can't tell you what the excuse is.
Well, I'll tell you what. Good win for them this weekend. Beating UVA is a must. I don't care where you are in this conference. I don't care if you're a top dog. I don't care if you're a bottom feeder. beating UVA is a must. You cannot lose in conference to UVA. Not this UVA team.
No.
They'll find a way. They'll find a way to give that thing back to you. They'll find a way to give you that pill when you need it the most. So good job on them for beating this Virginia team, but you ain't getting that much credit and you ain't moving up that far from beating this team, with all due respect.
Absolutely not. Let's talk about the next team here, Georgia Tech. The reason that they're not at the bottom is because we've seen a semblance of greatness in terms of beating a fellow ACC opponent. But don't play with us because we're sick of the ish. Okay? Sick of it, Coach King. Sick of it, Haynes King and company. We're not feeling the Yellow Jackets at the moment.
How do you overlook a team when you haven't been to a bowl game in nearly 6 years, or basically half a decade? How do you overlook
you
a team?
beat teams like North Carolina, who had the Drake May and the Heisman candidate type of energy. You have a high ending into your season last year. You are very competitive against a good Louisville team. Like you start to feel yourselves because you see the pieces coming together and you think this is a gimme.
So you thought it was a gimme, and let me get this straight. You thought this was a gimme because of an upset last season where you didn't go to a bowl game, and because of a near win that you were up in that game, should have won the game, but you lost this season, and that gives you the right to overlook people.
But you beat Wake Forest.
Yellow Jackets.
An undefeated team.
Yellow Jackets. I don't believe you. You need more people. I'm disappointed. I am surprised, but don't worry. Fool me once, can't get fooled again. Fool me once, can't get fooled
are you done with the Yellow Jackets for the season?
I wouldn't say I'm done with them for the season, but I got them on fraud watch. Got them on. I'm pulling out. If this was Fake Watch Buster, I'm pulling out the diamond tester. Talk to me. Is it cubic zirconium or what?
Heard you. Loud and sterling silver for sure. Next team up here, we have Pitt sitting at the bottom at number 11.
Yeah.
Cool. Pitt Panthers. Let me talk to you. Hard to win in lane. Not going to hold you. Hard to win in lane. Yeah. But a little disappointing that you have not yet figured out. Not only do you not have a quarterback, but you just don't have team chemistry. And it just feels like it's falling apart a little bit at the seams.
You know, the worst part for me is not just that they lost. It's how they lost.
Right.
This is a Virginia Tech team that we had like, hey, we don't know if outside of Virginia they're going to win a conference game all year. We really and truly don't know. And they dominated this game.
Yeah.
Like this was not a close game at all. After the first quarter, Virginia Tech blew the doors off this thing. I mean, to say this just as peacefully and as gently as I can, Virginia Tech led by 3 touchdowns at the start of the third quarter. What are we doing here? Come on, man. That ain't gonna get it done. That's never gonna get it done.
Yeah, because defense is supposed to be Pitt's, staple, right? They might be tired, and it sucks if you're tired already at week 5, but there's a long season to go. But I think there just needs to be some sort of player-only meetings, some come-to-Jesus man-in-the-mirror conversations that have to be had if they want to have any semblance of turning around the season and potentially going to a bowl game. Let's hear number 10 before we go ahead and pay some bills. Wake Forest, a team that, for all intents and purposes, have what it takes to be great. Didn't play this weekend, but still feel like they're solid, but we need to see some things. Getting beat by Georgia Tech don't help.
Yeah, that Georgia Tech loss knocked it right on down. And I'll tell you what, if Georgia Tech didn't wet the bed so tough, we had to go look for some Huggies for them for next week. Trust and believe y'all would be behind them. But we'll give you your respect. We won't move you down or do anything crazy to you on the bye week. You are where you are, Wake Forest. You are where you are.
1,000%. As mentioned, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Kenton and I talking through the power rankings for the ACC, and after week 5, Number 9, a huge jump. Virginia Tech getting its first ACC win on the season. Something about playing at Lane Stadium, something about finding your quarterback in drones, 5 touchdowns on the evening. More importantly than that, just swinging in high volumes of just, hey, we might have found our QB, don't mess this up. But beyond that, I think it's a step in the right direction now that you're finally figuring out that offense, because the defense has held themselves pretty well this season.
In the words of Eddie Murphy in Coming to America, that boy good. That boy good. That Drones is good. That young man, he can do it through the air. He can do it on the ground. Any type of way you want it, he can give it to you. He's a special talent. He's elevated this this Virginia Tech offense instantly, literally instantly. And Coach Pry, you owe that man a steak the size of your back. You understand? You owe that man endless flight, because I'll tell you what, if Drones didn't come through and absolutely demolish the defense in Lane Stadium, your time was ticking.
You think so?
Your time was ticking, brother.
I think they give him 2 more years, but that's just me. But I agree.
Well, I'm saying if they had a season this year that's comparable to Virginia, they weren't going to give him 2 more years. If you get a 2-10 win season this year, you're not getting 2 years at Virginia Tech.
Well, thank the Lord we don't have to have those problems, because he is not going to be Fuente reincarnated. NC State sits there at number 8. The Pack, you got to win at home. You got to win close ones at home. You got to get rid of quarterbacks when it's just not their time, even if it's in the middle of games. They didn't do that. They waited until Monday to announce the quarterback change in MJ Morris, which I know a lot of Pack fans have been reeling about. Exciting times for them. Will it make a difference? Remains to be seen. But either way it goes, it's interesting that a super senior in Brennan Armstrong gets benched. Fool's gold. Do we think that it was fool's gold? Buyer's remorse.
They sold us a lemon. UVA sold us a lemon. And
an avocado.
Yeah, absolutely. Brennan Tiberius Armstrong, brother. More power to you, Hey, listen. Stay ready, because you're only one play away from being the starter again. But with that being said, it's MJ Morris time at Riley. It's MJ Morris time. No more. I'll tell you this much. Brennan Armstrong, for a 6-year quarterback, in the 2 losses that NC State has suffered this year, do you know how many turnovers that Brennan Armstrong alone has had in both of those games?
3.
3 apiece. 3 apiece. You're a 6-year senior. You're a 6-year senior.
But I mean, is that got to be synergy, though, right? Like, I think that has some synergistic. Sometimes it's not always on him, things like that, right?
Can I ask you a question, Candace? You watch some UNC football, right? You've been known to dabble in a little UNC football. Am I correct?
Yeah.
You remember that secondary from last year, correct?
Sure.
When you thought of Cam Kelly, did Big Hitter ever come to mind for you? Was that like a guy that you he going to lay the lumber? You see Cam in that hole, oh boy, it's finna get physical. It's finna get nasty in that thing.
I didn't hate Cam at UNC. I'm not going to hold you.
You didn't hate him, but I'm saying, when you thought about him, did you think his strength is filling that hole with bad intentions? He's going to come through there, and somebody's son is going to feel a jarring and a shaking like you never felt before.
Well, no. However, against NC State,
he was able to make Brennan Armstrong fumble. And I have no more words. Listen, Brennan, get your master's. NC State is a wonderful university. Their programs are worth a lot. That degree is worth a lot, brother. More power to you, man.
Chase Daniels was able to make himself a hell of a career as a backup. Brennan Armstrong has a hell of an arm. You don't have to necessarily read defenses well. Sometimes you just have to be able to sling that rock.
If Brennan Armstrong has a long career in the NFL, it's going to be more of a Taysom Hill type of role, where he plays a little tight end, plays a little special teams, the path forward for you is not quarterback, brother. Look within. It's not quarterback.
It could be grad assistant for all we know, or especially
quality control analyst. Analyst is right there, baby. He's right
QC,
there.
definitely.
Yeah,
Call
QC the label.
Coach
the
K if
game.
you want to. Exactly.
Yeah,
Let's talk about number 7, Syracuse here. The Fighting Orange Men didn't quite hold their own against Clemson, but certainly not too far off. They're still having a winning season as compared to others that we have here on the board. We're not going to throw them away because Clemson looked like a really good team, the team that we know them to be. Syracuse, Garrett Schrader, we're not going to just lose faith just yet.
Yeah, we took it a little too far. We took it a little too – well, not we. Certain people took it a little too far with their belief in Syracuse. Like that,
Are you trying to say I took my – go ahead.
Oh, there were some folks who picked them to beat Clemson. There were folks who did that. I wouldn't have did that. I wouldn't have did that. But there were folks who did that.
Run the show back because you were very high on Dino and the boys. Run that show back right now.
But I did. Did I pick them?
Pick them in this game, but I'm saying in general. Okay.
Oh, okay. I'll just make sure. Now listen.
It's funny when you're right. You love okay. Remember this. Please. Remember this.
Hey, when I'm right, baby. When I'm right. But
very rare, but go ahead.
Wow, very rare. Anywho, Dino is coaching them boys up this season. They're doing a phenomenal job early in this season. However, that was a little bit of an embarrassing loss. I mean, you made Clemson look like the old Clemson in this game, which, could have been a get-right game for Clemson. Could have been a game where they needed to course correct, and now they got everything they need, and they're going to roll, which, well, if I'm the rest of the ACC, look out. You know what I mean? Put your hands up. Protect yourself, because if the Tiger's coming, you better be ready.
Let's talk about number 6 here, the Duke Blue Devils, who fell mightily from our original list, but for good reason, right? Your quarterback.
It wasn't a loss. It wasn't even a loss.
Can I set the scene before you over here cut me off? Got so
I'm sorry. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Duke lost its quarterback. Okay. Hell of a defense. Should have won that game. Definitely reminded Sam Hartman what it's like to be in the ACC, because NC State's defense sure couldn't. But I really feel like Sam Hartman and Notre Dame should have lost that game. A couple of plays came down to the kicker, which college kickers, here we are. Still feel like Duke has a lot of season in front of them. It's the fact that October is going to be rough. Florida State, Louisville. I don't know. Without QB1, it's gonna be a challenge. Sorry, we have them sitting at number 6. But you go ahead and tell people why we have number 6, since you know everything.
Wow. Yeah. Going into this stretch without their QB, it's gonna be tough. And let me tell you something. Dwayne Carter, brother, you made yourself a lot of money. You're gonna be able to buy yourself a lot of grilled chicken and oil with what you did in that game on Saturday night. Great job, dominant. 5 stars, no notes. But the offense for Duke, just that first half, Pelino has got to be,
But they're known for playing it safe. They're known for doing the fundamentals and executing the fundamentals correctly. So are we really surprised, that it didn't quite go? They couldn't really shake Ish up, because that's just not what they do.
I consider all kicks inside of 40 the fundamentals.
All right.
I consider those real fundamental. You need to make it. There's no excuse.
You shouldn't rely on your kicker. I don't think you ever need to rely on your kicker.
But I could understand if they were asking him to kick from 55. Then I'd be like, hey, y'all wilding. My brother in Christ, you're on scholarship. You have a scholarship. The same as Dwayne Carter. You and Dwayne Carter getting paid the same amount by the university. Fun fact. You and Riley Leonard, same amount by the university. NIL and all that is a separate thing. I'm just talking about just the scholarship alone. Do your damn job.
Help the church, Lord.
Your damn job, Pelino.
All right, let's talk about the fact that Bird Dogs is one of the best wearing brands out there. Makes you look good. Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you the truly sculpted look. Bird Dogs fit way better than regular shorts and are made of stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dog fixed the issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches so you have a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. Bird Dog uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Bird Dogs are functional for any occasion. Right now, if you go to www.birddogs.com/lockedoncollege or enter promo code lockedoncollege at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle, you'll get that with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedoncollege for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take off your Bird Dogs, we promise you. Kenton Gibbs and I talking through ACC Power Rankings. Let's get to 5 through 1, where everyone has been waiting patiently because this is where the arguments tend to happen. Louisville sitting at number 5. Didn't rock too many boats there. The Cardinals did what they had to do, took care of business in hostile territory against NC State. But I still think that Plummer just needs one more step, one more little giddy up in order to feel confident in this program, to feel like they really can make some noise in the postseason, whether it's New Year's 6 or the like.
Yeah. Remember when I said Plummer's going to need 5 elite performances to get him to that level? I don't think he has it in him. He
has 7 more games left.
And you think he's going to play at elite level in 5 of them? You think so?
He just won one out of the trenches. Okay.
Don't worry. If you believe that he has 5 elite performances in him, I promise you, I have oceanfront property to sell you on 6 Forks in Raleigh. Don't ask me what ocean it's on. Seeing as how Raleigh is on.
Okay.
Don't ask me that. Just give me the money and we'll discuss it afterwards. Because you'll believe anything, apparently. The reality is this Louisville team, they just keep finding ways to win. They've won pretty, they've won dominant, they've won ugly, they've won nasty. And when you win, baby, just win. You're getting the top 5 here. We watching you. We watching you, Cardinals, but you keep winning. So I know Slam Tanner's somewhere happy and smiling and singing because his Cards are undefeated at the moment.
They're ready to get a little uptick in maybe that number 4 spot. We're going to give it to Clemson, right? Because with this Syracuse game, we feel like the Tigers are slowly starting to turn that corner, remind us of who Clemson is, and maybe we shouldn't have just counted them out just quite yet. We know Dabo Swinney loves nothing more than a comeback story, down and out. Everyone didn't doubted us. Nobody believed in us type of energy. This is the start of the origin story. It could be the origin story for them having one of those get right seasons.
We all know Dabo Swinney. He probably plays the song "Love When They Count Me Out" by Kendrick Lamar every single time before games, before meals, before anything.
He's playing a Christian rapper.
Oh boy, that's. I'm not even gonna say what I want to say there. But anywho, hey, when you dominate, you move up the list. And they dominated Syracuse, you move up the list. Good job, Clemson. Good on you. We still watching y'all too. Don't make no bones about it. Okay. You're up there now. You can drop.
We're not full believers.
You are not a tree. You can move. Just letting you know.
Trees can move too. Was that supposed to be an analogy?
No, you remember the scammer lady that had all the ladies with her, and she was like, "You are not a tree, you can move," and they were all like, "That's right, that's right." You don't remember?
No.
Okay, I'll send you the video afterwards.
Oh man, woo. Let's talk about number 3.
You got a big forehead too. That's a lot of head to get. Oh, I'm sorry. Number 3. I'm bald, so my forehead kind of never ends. It's We in the same boat.
I can't wait till we have that Nutrafol read coming up here.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
North Carolina at number 3. Didn't play this week, but here we are, feeling good and feeling great about them. Feel like they have a lot to still prove, a lot ahead of them. But it's nice to sit back and watch your competition do, some good things.
I still am not over Candace Cooper trying to embarrass me. And see, this is why you got people calling you Michael Jackson saying I'm Tito. That was uncalled for. That was a low blow. But UNC not moving. They've, again, another team. They've shown up every week. It hasn't always been pretty. Hasn't always been dominant. They've done what they're supposed to do. If you win, you stay in that top 5. And that's why they are where they are now.
Agreed. I also think that sometimes when you look good, you look like a team that maybe got caught up and, had a couple bumps in the road like a Clemson. You could still be in the top 5, but here we are. Very interesting week ahead of them as they get back to playing at home and doing all the things. So I want number 2 here, Miami. Okay. Miami Hurricanes haven't moved and shouldn't move, rightfully so. Very much a program where we got some questions to ask coming out of this bye week, and we'll certainly hopefully get those questions answered with Tyler Van Dyke and the boys after a week of getting some rest and recovery and getting healthy.
Honestly and truly, and this applies for both of our Florida teams that are at the top here. Everybody keeps talking about how impressive their wins over SEC teams are. Who is Texas A&M's best win on the season?
And let me know when you know.
I mean, I think it's Cal? With all due respect, Lil Ben Finley is starting over there. For those of you who don't know, Ben Finley transferred out of NC State because he couldn't start. And you saw what Brennan Armstrong just did. You synced it. I synced it. I seen you see it. So, these top teams, they've looked good so far. It's going to be interesting as the season goes on and we kind of see who's where in the true meat and bones of this thing, because there's some teams, they're going to keep on dropping, because we've talked about this before. You know, NC State dropped like a rock and they deserved it. But Miami holding strong up at number 2, and they're going to have their day in the sun. They're going to have their matchup with Florida State where they say, hey, you got to give us our gots, or we're not quite there yet.
Let's talk about Florida State, as you mentioned, the number 1 team here in the ACC, mainly because they have been dominant against not only ACC opponents, minus that Boston College one that we want back, but also LSU, who put up a doozy against Ole Miss, right? So I think that Florida State sitting pretty at the top kind of reminds me of Clemson vibes that we had in years past, in terms of like, you got to beat the man to be the man. Florida State hasn't had a challenger kind of come up there, but remains to be seen if that will come their way. There's still a lot of great football left, a lot of important matchups that are really going to swing who sits in these top 5 positions.
I hate to be this guy because I know they're going to call me everything but a good Christian. But this Florida State team is not doing what we were seeing from those Clemson teams. But that's why I said this year's ACC doesn't have a big bad boogeyman. Florida State has looked the best out of everybody. But again, if we're talking about their big win over LSU and how great LSU has looked this year, have they though? LSU's biggest win came over who? An Arkansas team that's 2-3?
Sure. So are we saying, let's generalize here. Is ACC not as good? Is SEC not as great? Is college football right now kind of like at a lull?
The SEC is nowhere near what everybody thinks it is. Nowhere near it.
So who's the best conference right now?
You know, I'm going to say
and this is from someone who gets to be a college. If you guys have not checked out Kenton's live college show each and every Friday with Alex Dono and company, please make sure that you do so. But he gets to get a grand scale or a larger look at college football right now. Where does the ACC stand?
I'm going to say this, and a lot of people are going to be mad at me about it. I don't really care. I think that the landscape right now is the Big Ten and the conference that will no longer exist at the end of this year. They're duking it out for who's the best conference. And then behind them, the ACC and the SEC and the ACC are running neck and neck. They're really running neck and neck. And I mean that. Anybody who says the SEC is better, I would like to ask why and how. Because the Big 12 beat Bama. The ACC beat LSU. The ACC beat Texas A&M. And those teams are looking half decent over there. But even out of conference, all of their teams have looked terrible. Auburn struggled with Cal. Texas A&M, I believe, struggled with Cal as well. Cal is not good. They're not good. So if I'm looking at these conferences and I'm saying who's the elite conference, who's the team that's dominant, or who's the conference that's dominant, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 are looking like one of them ones. The Big 12 at the top, they're very top heavy, but so is the SEC. Top heavy, but once you get beyond that 1 or 2 team range, get a little hairy.
Are we getting anybody in the college football playoff?
Is the ACC getting somebody in the college football playoff?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, the fact that you had to hesitate is scary.
Because there's so much up in the air. Because I have a strange feeling. I don't know why. I have a very strange feeling. Clemson is going to put a turd in the punch bowl, and get to the conference championship and knock off Florida State. I have a very strange feeling that's going to happen. Or what would be even worse, Miami and FSU go back and forth, trading wins and whatnot, or Miami loses to somebody else and then beats Florida State, which puts us all in this bond of like, oh,
well, I
God.
feel like Miami has the national prowess to be in the college football playoff conversation if they keep winning.
But that's what here's my thing. I think that they have the ability to upset Florida State. Florida State. They have the ability to beat a UNC. No doubt about that. If we're talking playoff, you have to either run the table or be one really close loss. One really close loss, especially with the national perception of the ACC, even though that perception is not reality right now. It's just the truth. Because I'm sorry to tell you, them boys down in the SEC, that most of them can't throw the ball to save their lives, and the few teams that can throw the ball can't stop nobody, and vice versa. That's what you got going on. And so it's the national perception will be unkind to a one-loss Miami if that one loss is not a very close one.
So what you're telling me is, after all these power rankings where we're finagling and trying to get somebody to the top, all I want to see is somebody in the postseason. That's all I want to see.
I'll tell you this much. If Florida State runs the table, 100% they're in. If Miami runs the table, 100% they're in. UNC runs the table, 100% they're in. If Louisville runs the table, 100% they're in. 100%. But
UNC running that table is just, everybody played the lotto.
Well, I'm just saying. You know what
Go ahead.
That thing up to $1 billion. I don't care if you're not a gambler, man. You better.
But
go
if
put
UNC and Miami can't both run the table, so there's that.
No, but that's what I'm saying. If any of these teams run the table, they will get into the playoff. You cannot deny an undefeated Power 5 team. You can't. It's impossible. The playoff. Fair. I don't care who you think belongs. I don't care who you say, oh, this team didn't beat this team and this team didn't beat nobody. Doesn't matter. They ran through a Power 5 conference schedule like a Tomb Raider. You got to give them their guts, put them in the national championship or put them in the playoff at least, the national semifinal, so that they can go prove their mettle or lack thereof. But if any of these teams run the table, they're going to go. In this last year of a 4-year playoff, by the way.
Sure. But I think as we are going through our power rankings, maybe we need to stop encouraging us to be crabs in a barrel and beating each other. Maybe we need to be elevating one team. Maybe we need to be pushing one team to hold it down POP style. That's all I'm saying.
As a Detroit Lions fan, I will never be for such a thing. Never. Because I'm telling you, it's very nasty when your team is on the receiving end of one team being pushed.
One bang, one sound.
No, ma'am.
Nose on
14 bands, 14 sounds. Some of them need to cut the tuba off. Looking at you, Virginia. Cut the tuba, baby. It's too much tuba.
Maybe I need to start practicing my chop.
Wow.
Maybe I need to start holding up my... I don't know. Maybe what do we need to do? All I want is somebody to be in the postseason.
All I'm saying is I'm not even sure that you can go back to Keenan and all that. After all this love you've been showing to Duke, and now you're throwing the Seminole chop too. They might.
North Carolina Quads kept on like we know how. That's another story for another day. All I'm saying is, I feel like we got to elevate somebody in order to get us to the ACC championship. Hold on
now. What's the T? They don't like you over there. We ain't gonna talk about that all. We get it off. We ain't gonna talk about that right now. But I am all for one of these teams making the playoff, but I want the team to make it to earn it. I want them to earn it. I want them to,
But they could use our good juju and earn it better if we rank them higher. So maybe we need to be a little more biased.
There's no way under it. There's no way around it. The only way is through that thing. That's it. That's the only way. The path of least resistance will not get you to where you want to be. You have got to be tough as nails. You have got to walk over those burning sands. You have got to walk through that broken glass. You have got to chew on nails and be tough as iron in order to do this thing. That's just what it is.
You were definitely somebody's dean. All right, guys, come back tomorrow as we talk about games for next week. We got to predict. We got to have our community polls up. We got to make sure that you vote and see who's going to win in week 6. Make sure you know how that is. We're going to read some of your comments. So Wednesday is the way we just, let it all out. So this is the final talk about week 5 as we prepare for week 6. If you have some things to say, make sure that you talk through them. We'll get you through all of that here on our YouTube page. But if you want to listen to audio space, wherever you listen to podcasts, we always appreciate 5-star reviews. For Candace Cooper and Kenton Gibbs, until next time.